Man has developed consciousness slowly and laboriously, in a process that took untold ages to reach the civilized state, and this evolution is far from complete. Today on Circle Theory, we are discussing consciousness and the unconscious. We're going to dive into what these systems are and what they might mean. So I hope you stick with us here on Circle Theory. Thanks for sticking around. If you enjoy this content, please like, subscribe, follow us on Twitter. You can do all of that below this video. I really appreciate it. Let's go ahead and hop in. So from the gate, we're talking about the development of the unconscious, which is where symbols and artistic representations sprout from. This is what we talked about in our last video on the meaning of symbols. And this evolution still has a long way to go. You know, the Jungians say, for large areas of the human mind are still shrouded in darkness. What we call the psyche is by no means identical with our consciousness and its contents. So there's this separation here. We're defining a difference between the psyche and the consciousness. You know, Freud might call this the id, right? The removal part, the part we're not able to access. Which is really a revolutionary idea. This is something that you got to think about for whatever flack the Freudians get. So many things they come up with are now household terms. Without Freud, we would not discuss the collective or the unconscious or projection or regression or all of these things that have just become flat accepted in psych really start here. And so this is a really important notation on the separation of consciousness itself. If you're interested in more of that, please check out our videos on Rollo May. They're not as developed, but they're really fun. So from there, the Jungians say the organizing center from which the regulatory effects stems seems to be a sort of nuclear atom in our psychic system. One could also call it the inventor and organizer and source of dream images. Jung calls this the center, the self, and described it as the totality of the whole psyche in order to distinguish it from the ego, which only constitutes only a small part of the total psyche. So it's this large collective system. You know, I think that cognitive psychology gives it a good idea of all this, but we compare it to a computer. You know, the psyche is the computer. It's the collective of all of these systems. The ego is the user interface, while the unconscious might be the hard drive, and the neurological part might be the processor, so on and so forth. That is broken into separate systems that are organized into the psyche. And so we are not always fully aware and able to do this. And we all experience that, right? You have a twitch, or you say something when you get excited, and then you go, why the hell did I say that? I'm super embarrassed now, right? We have... or you wonder, why can't I change this? I keep trying to quit smoking. I know, I keep trying. And I just can't change my behavior. It's a separate part of the system. The Jungians continue. I observe the behavior of a neurotic person. You can see him doing many things that he appears to be doing consciously and purposely. Yet if you ask him about them, you will discover that he is either unconscious of them or has something quite different in mind. He hears and does not hear. He sees yet is blind. He knows and is ignorant. Such examples are so common that the specialist soon realizes that the unconscious contents of the mind behave as if they were conscious. So that the idea we're getting into here, and this seems like something that's more commonly accepted, but for this time this was a big deal, this idea that there's a part of us that's controlling our behaviors as if it were conscious, and we don't know quite how to deal with it. This is important for one of the big reasons here is because it gives us empathy, right? People with a psychological disorder are not just jerks. They have some impulses that are impacting their behavior that they need help with. So we get a more positive take on some of our challenges, that there are other parts. And we might even think we're doing something consciously when really it is out of our control. They continue, we can find clear proof of this, the collective unconscious or the unconscious fact in the history of science itself. For example, and they quote a French mathematician and a chemist, which I won't even try to pronounce their names, owed important scientific discoveries, as they themselves admit, to sudden pictorial revelations from the unconscious. The so-called mystical experience of the French philosopher Descartes involved a similar sudden revelation when he saw the flash of the order of all sciences. The British author Robert Louis Stevenson had plenty of years looking for a story that would fit in a strong sense of man's double meaning when the plot of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde was suddenly revealed to him in a dream. This is something we really dive into in those Rollo May series, what that process is of the distinct disconnect between logical performance and unconscious realization. So again, if you haven't checked out some of those, please do. But what we're talking about here is we're getting a good distinction between these two systems. That we have a part that is consciously understanding and another part of where these instinctual things come from, where they can be brought forth and summoned to be able to have meaning and interaction with. And that's where we wrap up today. So again, I hope you enjoy this content. If you do, it really helps. Just get one like. It's like, sweet, I should keep doing it. I appreciate it. I wish you all the best. Catch you next time here on Circle Theory.
I'm the type of motherfucker that'll check the check